One of the questions we get asked the very most is, do you have a therapist you can recommend for me? And while we wish that we knew of therapists in every single place, in every single part of the country, we don't. So what do we tell them instead, Mel?
We say check out BetterHelp because it's online, it's at a reasonable price, and you can be matched with a therapist within 24 hours. I've also used them and they have been great. And if you don't like your therapist, guess what? Click, and get a new one.
Absolutely. It's so hard when you have an in-person therapist, if you're not clicking with them, to cut them off and get a new one. So that's not an issue with BetterHelp. So we always tell people to try BetterHelp. And if you use our promo code, which is
trybetterhelp.com/WWDN,
you get 10% off your first month.
Go ahead and try it out. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN. And you know what? I'm a big fan of doing therapy where you don't have to wear pants, but nobody knows about it.
Are you wearing pants right now, Mel?
I'll see you later. Bye. That's trybetterhelp.com/WWDN.
All right, here we are. Back at it again.
Well, he's not a pilot. We know that.
We don't know that.
Well, actually, we don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
but he looks like one.
You look like you could be one, yeah.
Sort of.
I do have eyes and a head. Yes, so yeah.
Is that all you need to be a pilot?
Pretty much, yeah.
Are you a pilot?
I'm not a pilot. I've eaten pilot crackers though, but no, I'm not a pilot.
All right.
Yeah.
Who are you, friend? and what are you?
I'm a widowed human, male. My name is Joe Tuinei, and currently I live in Gilbert, Arizona.
Fabulous. And what do you do for a job that's not piloting?
It's actually quite a bit more exciting than piloting. It's health insurance.
Oh wow.
Anita's eyes just because Anita's on the other side of this.
Yeah, no, I don't envy anybody who has to do any of it, really. But you know,
I was lying though. It's not as exciting as piloting a plane, perhaps.
But what about the pilot crackers?
Those are really good with butter.
What is a pilot cracker? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. It's like a.
Is that the name brand?
No, it's a type of cracker.
Is it like the pilot gas station?
Google.
No. It's kind of like I don't know. They're these roundish crackers. I think they eat them in other parts of the world, but they're kind of like a just thicker, less saltine cracker.
I've never heard of them.
It's popular in much of New England in the United States. It was manufactured by Nabisco until it was discontinued in the first quarter of 2008. The cracker was unsalted and closely resembled hardtack. So that sounds nice. And they come in a can.
Hardtack. That sounds like my mom's Pioneer lingo.
Yeah, I think that they are like saltines, but less
with
yummy.
No salt.
Yeah.
They don't sound great.
Okay, well, I've learned something new today, so thanks, Joe.
Yep. Interview over. Thanks.
That's why we brought you here.
You're welcome, and thanks.
Joe, tell us where you grew up.
I grew up in a couple of places. So I was born in American Samoa in the South Pacific. My parents moved to Utah, where my dad got his law degree, and we lived there till I was probably in like first grade. So it was a pretty quick stint in Utah. My parents got divorced. We ended up moving with my dad back in Samoa, and my mom, she went back to Hawaii, where she's from, and then I spent my high school years in Hawaii. So kind of grew up in several different places.
I've heard that in Hawaii, where you go to high school is a big deal. Is this true? And is it because of football?
Yeah, it's true. A lot of it is like you can like weed out people that are not from Hawaii from people that are. So when you say, "Oh, where did you go to school?" we're expecting like a high school name. If you respond with like a college, then they're like, you're not really from here.
You went to BYU, Hawaii. That
You
doesn't
went to that.
count.
I was like, that doesn't count. You
Yeah.
went to Chaminade. That doesn't count.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Hilo High School on the Big Island. My mom went to that high school as well, and so I think we're the only two in our family that went to that high school. I've got a lot of brothers and sisters, and they all went to different, various and sundry high schools in Utah, mostly American Samoa.
Like, I can't keep track of them. I can barely keep track of myself.
Exactly.
So before we get into your story, Joe, I want to tell people that you are an Easter egg in a previous episode. And I think we'll get to that at some point in time, but we've talked about you before. So that's kind of fun.
Yes, I did. I do remember that episode because I listened to it. So
Okay.
I listened to
So
all the episodes. I'm like, long time listener, first time caller. One of those.
are you going to ask us a question about your car and why it's making the noise it's making? Because we cannot help.
I do have a car story, but it's a sad one. But we can
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We can save it for later if there's room.
All right. Well, you're here because you're widowed. So tell us about your person.
My late wife's name is Sia. Well, her and I met in college. We both went to college in central Utah. I just kind of showed up because I wanted to play football and get a scholarship, really to get a scholarship through playing football. And she was there, and we lived near each other in the dorms. We hit it off. We ended up going to a lot of like church meetings together, and so we spent quite a bit of time together. Fell in love, got married, had a kid, and she was like a very very compassionate person, and so she was one of those people that was like would always like want to give handouts to like people with signs on the side of the freeway with homeless folks. So I ended up talking her into like, hey, you don't know where that money's going, and like we don't want to give money this way. And then so she was like, fine, I'm going to volunteer. And so that was one of her big things, was she volunteered at the youth homeless shelters and did a lot of that type of stuff. She was really talented, made a lot of cakes was one of her things. So she did custom cakes. And I helped out quite a bit there.
By eating them?
So you have to like shave off parts of it to make it like,
Right.
shapely and everything and look nice. And yes, so that those parts.
Yeah. And you have to do quality control. Like that is for real.
It's like it's too salty. I don't know.
Did she ever kick you out of the kitchen? Because Scott was into custom cakes and he like banned me from the kitchen because I was not helpful.
No, she actually really needed my help a lot because her health was not the best. Shortly after we got married and then she got pregnant, she did kind of fall ill and ended up with a lot of chronic pain, chronic fatigue type stuff. So no, on the contrary, she did really need my help with all of the like heavy lifting and things like that. So, but in terms of like designing the cakes, yeah, no, it was all her. So
I even got banned from the grocery store with Scott. That's how bad it was. So, Joe, it sounds like you're much more helpful and useful than I was. How many kids did you guys have together?
We had 2 kids. Got an older son and then a daughter. They're 3 years apart. So.
And
they both live outside. They don't live. They're both adults. So.
Oh, I thought you meant outside.
They live outside of the house.
Yeah, you make them live in the backyard and everybody else lives inside.
Yes.
They're on the patio.
Yeah.
So where did you guys raise your family? Did you stay in Utah? Did you go somewhere else?
So shortly after we had our son, we moved out to Missouri for 3 years. I ended up getting a scholarship, a football scholarship out there at a small school. And that's where we had our daughter. So she was born out in Missouri. And then pretty much after I was done with college there, we ended up moving back to Utah, and pretty much for the rest of her life we were in Utah. So we're together just over 19 years, working on 20.
Okay, so tell us what went wrong. I mean, not everything, because there was probably lots of little things.
Well, she got mad because the frosting was, she found a lump in her breast. She had just got a kind of a physical, and one of the things that she tried to do was do mammograms, even though as young as she was. And we went in and got it checked out, and she got another mammogram when we went in, and it still didn't show anything because of the makeup of her breast tissue was pretty dense. So it still didn't show what it was supposed to show. They eventually found out that it was cancer, did all the necessary scans, and it was stage 3 by the time we found it. And it was pretty far, like deep in there. So like even when she tried to get me to feel it, like I couldn't really feel it because it was so deep down in there. Because of her health, just always fatigued and really missing out on a lot of family activities. She really didn't want to fight it. She was just kind of like,
Really?
I think I'm done. Yeah. And a little bit of more background. Like, we had just watched 2 of our other cousins who were older than her get breast cancer at the same age. They were all 35, and they were staggered, so they're different ages.
Yeah.
But 2 of our older cousins got breast cancer at the age of 35, and we watched them fight and lose their battles, and just wither away. And so that was kind of one of the reasons why she didn't want to fight, is because she already had a poor quality of life where, like she could do things if it was sitting down, but there was a lot of things she couldn't participate in. Our kids were in sports, and it was just hard for her to attend those things. She was in a wheelchair for years before that, just to participate in the things that we could get her to participate in. So for her, it was a logical choice to just say, I think I'm done. But I wasn't ready to let her go, and so it took a lot of convincing on my part to get her to fight. And one of the things was that, like she said, well, I'll do it this one time, but if it comes back, I'm not doing it again. And so she did. She fought, and she got the treatment she needed, and she was all clear within a year of starting chemo and radiation and bilateral mastectomy and all that. Things were all good, but we did have a feeling that it was going to come back. Just as far as extensive as it was, the doctor did say there was a high probability that it was going to come back. We spent the next several years making memories, just trying to do the things that we could do as a family. And she was a bit better, actually. She didn't need the wheelchair as much after chemo and all of that. On her birthday, I think it was 3 years out, she went in and got checked out again, and it was back. This time around, the doctor was saying that, hey, you probably have years with as long as it took to come back. And so, she was like, I told you I'm not doing this again. It was really hard on her. And so she just turned towards making preparations for her own passing. And yeah, so.
Hey guys, just checking in and want to say if you are enjoying this podcast
And you want to see it keep going, maybe it's helped you through your widowhood journey and you think that it might help others on their widowhood journey, you can support that cause by joining our Patreon.
some of the things that you get as a Patreon beneficiary are ad-free episodes, so you don't have to hear ads like this.
You also get exclusive content, and at a certain level, you might also get an exclusive t-shirt you can only get that place.
That is true. It's pretty cool. There are 4 different tiers available, so check it out. It's patreon.com/WWDN.
And as an extra bonus, very often you get your names read by one of my kids, and they will do a terrible job with the pronunciation. And that's like a bonus, I think.
I think it's kind of the best. I would much rather hear somebody butcher my name than say it correctly.
A child butcher it than an adult do it correctly. Yep. So go to patreon.com/WWDN to keep our podcast going and support the widowed cause.
Yes! Thanks, guys! Back to our regularly scheduled program.
So This is such an interesting dynamic because usually when we hear this, there's like this immediately like, we're going to fight this. And so you guys weren't on the same page, which has got to be a really weird place for you to be in. Because it's not like you can force somebody to go poison themselves with chemo, like that's kind of like a really strange place to find yourself. Like, I'm not ready for you to die. You can come on, please,
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was, a lot of like negotiating and just like I can't do this without you. And really, I think that in the end, it was like, me agreeing not to push it if it came back.
Mm.
And she had made up her mind that she wasn't going to do it, and I was like, well, I mean, you did it for me once, and like I can't ask you to do it again, even though I'm still not ready for you to be gone.
How did your kids deal with that? And how did you talk to your kids about that? Because that would be hard for them too.
She did a lot of the talking to them. It was really hard for me to come to grips that she was going to be gone, and a lot sooner than we had anticipated. So she did a lot of the talking, and she would talk to me about what she had talked to them about. We had some pretty tough conversations there, but she was the one that did all of the talking with the kids and everything. And it wasn't until after she passed to where I started, talking with the kids. And I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I think I was also in a place of like just, you know, I wasn't in denial. I knew, it was gonna happen, but it was really hard to even manage my own emotions.
Every family has a different dynamic. With the personalities of your kids, are they helped by talking through things, or do they kind of deal with their own emotions and just go about life too? Because that's also so hard as a kid in a family. And, do you say something, or like, do you know what to say? How was communication? Was it just, were people pretty just going about their lives?
So now you're bringing up a really big difference between Sienna and myself. In that she was very vocal, and she always wanted to talk to the kids and have the kids, talk their feelings out and everything. And she was big into like therapy, counseling and things like that. And I was like super supportive of that. But on the other hand, actually like a pretty quiet guy, and I think I get that from my dad. Just pretty quiet, pretty reserved. I didn't have the same type of relationship with our kids than that she had. So a lot of it was on her. It was something that just came natural for her, and that doesn't come as naturally for me.
How old were the kids when she died?
Our son was 18, just about to be 19, and our daughter was 16.
That's a tough age.
And was her the first diagnosis time, you said about 3 years before that? Is that right?
It was just over 4 years from the time that she passed away.
From diagnosis to when she passed away.
So they were in
Yep.
junior high, going to high school, and then she died. That span.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Do you have family that's like around you? You've moved a lot. You've kind of got like this big, like big global reach to your family. Do you have people that are nearby?
Yeah, actually, up in Utah, I've got a lot of family, and so did CS. All of her siblings live in Utah. Probably half of my siblings live in Utah. So there's a lot of, uncles, aunties, cousins that, they're pretty close with.
You said that you are a quiet kind of person, more reserved. Did you allow yourself to think of, how do I handle this when she dies? Or did you block it off?
No, I thought about it a lot. And one of the things that I had decided, when she got sick is like, I'm not sticking around here. Like it's too much to continue to live, in that house. And I still own the house, and it's a rental. And so actually went up there less than a month ago, to that area, and I still get really emotional being in that area. And I knew I was going to be highly emotional, and I didn't want that for myself. I didn't want that for um, you know, my kids, like to have me be in that type of a state all the time. So I just talk myself into, I need to move after this.
So where did you go? And how did your 15-year-old deal with that? Because that might have been a tricky thing to convince a 15-year-old to do.
It was hard because, like, on one hand, they're going through their own grief, um, and it's not the same experience that I'm experiencing. And I've listened to a lot of folks you've interviewed, and I've actually learned quite a bit from some of the stuff that they've shared. But just understanding that she wasn't going to resist. That just wasn't in her to speak up and say, I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I think she was like a sophomore in high school at the time, so she had 2.5 years left. She wasn't going to say that to me, and now I know that, because we weren't going through the same things. But I moved fairly quickly. I moved the following summer. So she passed away end of November in 2021. And then I was out of the house by the beginning of the next summer. My son, on the other hand, I mean, like, he was kind of out and about on his own. It was a little different for him. And, I don't think he's allowed himself to grieve. Even to this day. I mean, he's still going through a lot of his own things. And so those are the two experiences when at the time I made my choice to leave.
So we're in 2025, so it's been 4 years.
Yep.
So does that mean your son is 22?
23 and 20 this year.
Okay.
So.
That age group, that kind of emerging adult, is sometimes, I feel like, some of the hardest to help because they're an adult, quote unquote, but also they need help, right? But they
They're
might not
legally
want,
an adult.
yeah, they might
Yep.
not want to listen to you, but they probably need maybe not to listen to you, but they're also not fully formed in the frontal lobe yet. So it's pretty tricky to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard for me to compare to, because I lost my mom when I was like 23, 24. So, like, I was older than they were. And so it's even then it was like I got more time with my mom than they got with theirs. And there was other things that I was able to do because I was older in life than they were able to do. Served a mission for our church, and I'd been in college and started a family, and here they are, just in a very different situation. So I think it was even hard for me to relate to them in that way, because they're younger than I was. So.
Anita, I hear we have a store.
Oh, we sure do. We've actually had it for quite a while. It's called the Snarky Grief Shop, and it's where you will find all of our best grief merch. That is, yes, a little snarky. For instance, it's where you will find the official widow card that you can pull and use at your convenience.
You can put it in your wallet, and anytime you need to use it, pull it out, play the widow card.
Yeah, we have glow-in-the-dark stickers. We have shirts that say, "Be nice, my husband is dead." We also have the ones that are not quite as jarring, so that you can wear them out in public and not feel weird. But sometimes you need that shirt.
I wear my "Be nice, my husband is dead" to bed because I'm a little scared to go in public with it. But you've worn it on airplanes before with your kids.
Yeah, every time we go to the airport, I wear that shirt because I'm just like, listen, I got to get all these kids through security. Just be nice to me. Thank you so much. And it's worked for the most part.
Some of the less snarky grief shirts are podcast shirts or Widow Wives Club. We also have Resilient AF, right, Anita? What else we got in there?
Yeah, which we're telling everybody who cares, like Mel's mom, that means American fork, because she can't know what it really means, guys.
Yeah.
Stickers and mugs and notebooks and just cool stuff that you can use to express your snarky grief. You'll find it by going to our website, shop.widowwedonow.com. There's a lot of W's in there, so just make sure that you've counted them and there's the right number.
We will link to that in the show notes, and it's also in our app. which you can get from the App Store. Can people get it from our regular website too?
Yes, if you go to widowwedonow.com, there's a link for the shop in there too.
Great. If you'd like to show your snark or have something a little more subtle, go ahead and check that out. Again, that's
shop.widowwedonow.com. I am curious about how it changed all of your grieving that she was sick before she had cancer. It's like, it seems like that might have been kind of a theme of a lot of your marriage and a lot of their lives too, was just like mom isn't able to do stuff with us.
I know he should have hung out with your brother-in-law, Anita.
Yeah. Yes. Poor guys.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like she was um, on one hand, it was like she understood that I needed to get out and I needed to do things. And the good thing was that I became like really good friends with some of her very close cousins. And so that wasn't a hard stretch. We'd end up actually just hanging out at someone's house together, and she would come along with. I think the sports thing was a little harder because I was involved in coaching, and so it was hard for me to like be with her to watch the kids. But at least the hanging out, there were things that we were able to do together.
That's good.
So let's talk about what happened after she passed away and you moved. What happens next in your life?
Yeah, so it's actually like listening to a few episodes ago, the Widow's Fire episode.
Okay,
And I was
got it.
like, why don't we talk about this? This is great. I mean, like this is like one of the things, because it was like I was like, wow, this is exactly kind of how I felt there, because like Sia got sick and she went on to hospice, and she was on hospice for a year. And like, a big part of our marriage was, affection and intimacy. And, like when she gets sick, that goes away, or at least that did for us. After she had passed away, I was pretty upset, and I was pretty upset at the idea that, actually one among the really hard conversations we had was her telling me that I needed to date again, and get married if that works out, but that I needed to get back out there at some point. And I did. I mean, like it was kind of one of those things where it was like on one hand I was grieving, but on the other hand like really missing affection and intimacy that like I think the just the fact that I was not super like affectionate with my kids, it was just not the type of relationship that we had. I wasn't. I think a lot of people do get that from just cuddling up with their kids or their grandkids. But me and my kids didn't have that type of relationship, and so I got out there pretty quickly, and started to actually date somebody. Got on the online apps and everything. And
Wait, did Sia have anybody in mind for you? I love it when wives and husbands do that. They're like, this is who you should marry after I die.
she did.
I knew it. I knew it.
She named a couple of friends of either mine or slash ours. But I think the hard part was that one lives in France and the other one lives on the East Coast, and it's like, when am I gonna?
Yeah.
Well, East Coast, go get your pilot crackers from there.
Mhm.
See how that goes, and then just go hop over to Paris.
And then he can fly because he is a pilot to
Yeah.
France.
Easy, Joe.
Yes, with my pilot crackers. Yeah.
So how long after Sia's death did you start dating? Because I know you said it was soon, but what does soon mean to you?
It was soon. So like, she died right after Thanksgiving. We actually spent Christmas in Hawaii because I just needed to get away. I needed to go and visit friends, and my mom is buried there. And I think there's something about like when life happens like this, like you want to go and see your parents, but both my parents are gone. But I did want to go and at least pay a visit to my mom. It was good and it was healing. And when I got back, I met up with one of my former coworkers just for lunch, and then she started asking me about like, am I going to start dating again? And it was brought up to me in such a like non-offensive way, because up until then, every time somebody mentioned it, I just got upset. Um, and and then I was like, I don't know, like, how do you date? And here's me, like the ever like, I'm gonna learn, going to Google, how do you date? Like,
Teach Anita.
I'm in that same spot right now, except for not really, but I'm like, how does it work?
yeah, yeah. Well, I got on the dating apps. There was a lot of like setting up dates, but then like just being stood up or like just
Really?
canceling. I was just like, oh, okay, well, I don't really know how to do this. Like, I met my wife in college, and like we're in person and everything. Yeah, I mean, like eventually I was able to like go on a date. We started seeing each other regularly. I ended up moving closer to where she was. So it was like January, pretty much like mid late January is when I started um actually went out on a date. That dating experience was, I mean, it was okay. I mean, at least got me thinking about, moving forward with life and finding romance and whatnot. But I think it just became too much. Things with us didn't work out, and I ended up going back to the apps and like dating, or kind of dating around. I did meet some other folks that I'm still in touch with, but like just didn't work out. And so of those people, one of them, there was like these widow conferences with our that are related to like our church. Somebody that I'd gone on a few dates with, invited me to go to one up in Idaho. We planned on it. I got there, and I think I'd done a lot of my own work and everything prior to that. And this person, I think, still wanted to date me, but was just wanting to invite me, just as friends, and we went up as friends. But she wanted to stay to the end of the conference, and on day one, it was a 2-day conference. And on day one, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I was like, this is not for me. Like, I think I'm further along in my grief journey than a lot of these folks, and not getting a lot of value out of it. But then I told her that I would take her home afterwards. And so I had to stay all the way to the very end of the conference at night to
Oh.
listen to a talk by Melissa Ponder Brackman. And I was like, huh, wow, this is a crazy story, as you know, because you've interviewed her a couple of times. And so by then I was kind of over the, dating, and it only took me a few months to kind of feel like I'm over it. Until that conference.
Okay, so you're at the conference and you meet Melissa.
Okay, we didn't actually meet at the conference because she was too fancy, too popular, too long of a line,
She's too
for
famous.
she was too famous. And no, I just thought like, wow, she's really cute. I'm sure a lot of guys are going to be knocking on her door. My thought was, she's really fancy.
Fancy?
Is
I
fancy,
love that.
yeah.
I love it so much.
Aw.
So she's really fancy. And so we left afterwards. I dropped off this other person at her place, and then I drove the rest of the way back down. The next evening, I get a Facebook friend request, and Melissa slides into my DMs. Is that what the cool kids say?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think so.
And this is our Easter egg, perhaps,
Yeah.
right? So those of you who have listened to Melissa's second episode, you might know what is
Yeah.
happening.
She
Okay.
she told the story from the other's point of view, and she specifically mentioned your arms, that they were
Mhm.
muy guapo. So she liked those. That's what did it for her.
I was actually thinking, well, all this time in the gym, and finally it comes into use, you know.
Because you played football in high school, right? And in college? Is that what you said?
Yes, played football in high school and in college.
Is that what you coached as well? It was football?
I did some football coaching, and then I switched over to rugby because my kids wanted to play rugby. And so We switched over to that, and then I currently still referee rugby.
So Chad had just died and she didn't want to deal with any sort of dating anything,
Mm-mm,
right? And then she saw
that's
your
correct.
arms and your arms lured her in. So way to go
Yeah, yeah.
football and rugby.
We were actually reading those texts the other night. Like I went back and I scrolled back through, and it wasn't in preparation for this at all. I was just like, "Remember this?" And we went through, and she was the first one to message. Yeah. So Chad actually died 2 weeks ahead of Sia, and so we're on very similar timelines. So she did want to reach out because I do remember seeing her standing next to me, but I didn't know who she was in the morning. I had a bad attitude too, at the conference anyway. So, um, but she wanted to check, on me to see how I was coping with things, and so that was her. I don't know if it was her initial motivation or secondary to the arms, but I mean, we started talking.
This was a question I had for Melissa, and I think I even had this question for Melissa on her first episode.
Hmm.
Are How are men not scared to be married to you? Because they keep dying. And do you have an answer for that question?
Well, I don't know about anyone else.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't answer for Chad or anything. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like for me, it was just like I was very open to exploring a relationship until it just didn't make sense, and none of that really mattered. After a flurry of dating and just understanding that, yeah, I don't want to deal with, X, Y, and Z anymore. Meeting Melissa was very refreshing, because she was widowed, and so we did have that in common to where it wasn't awkward to talk about. I've got in the back here, like this is actually Sia's urn right here. And she mentioned it, and that Sia's urn is in our office, and I go with her, from time to time to put flowers on Chad's grave. It's not a topic that's awkward to us, but it wasn't like the thing that made our relationship. It was about us, and when we wanted to talk about Sia or Chad or Scott, that we could, and that there wasn't any real awkwardness. I've got a lot of respect, and I do feel a sense of kinship to both Scott and Chad, and so for me, it wasn't really awkward, at all. So
People who maybe haven't listened to Melissa's second episode could piece together from what you're saying that you guys ended up getting married. Is this true?
yes, we did end up getting married, and actually, you did a shout out for us after we got married last summer. So yeah, if they, I don't remember what episode that was, but there was a quick shout out for us. So
How's it going? You guys
Yeah.
still like each other? I mean, it's good.
yes, yeah, we do like each other, very much so. I think, there's sort of like you get into the marriage groove, with each other. There's some of that, but there's also the, hey, we don't know when this is going to end. Let's reconnect and everything. We kind of go through that, and sometimes that uh, reconnection needs to happen a lot sooner than other times. And we're really busy with traveling, for her son's volleyball, and this summer is going to be a beast, for us, but we always really try to find time to reconnect. In fact, the other night, we're doing like their her son's volleyball like banquet, for high school, and the guy that was showing like the video of the sophomore team, he was showing it on off of his phone, and an alarm came up while he was showing that, and it just said wife time. And we're like, what is going on
Whoa.
here? And I was like looking at Melissa, like winking. Is like, hey, maybe we need to
Schedule.
schedule some, yeah,
Some
husband and wife
time.
time. Yeah.
That's
So
a smart idea because yeah, like you said, life just keeps going and you get in the groove of things.
yeah.
So you mentioned that Sia, she had a lot of fatigue issues and some chronic health things before she got breast cancer. We know Melissa, and Melissa is going all the time. So how has it been for you in this new experience to have a partner where she's able to maybe physically do a little bit more
And are
things?
you tired?
Yes.
I'm not tired. I'm actually pretty mellow. I'm a pretty mellow guy. And I think so was Chad. I mean, in many ways, but he was also really busy, as well. You know, I've learned in my marriage with Sia that, like, hey man, life can slow down for a little bit so that we can like reconnect. And I've actually gotten her to slow down a little bit, so it's like, hey, let's sit down, let's have dinner together as a family, like let's reconnect and everything. And I think she is always going around. So I haven't slowed her down in that way, but enough to where it's like we have some time to reconnect, almost on a daily basis there. But she does her thing, and I'm like, you go, and I do my thing, right? I go, and I do my rugby and all that stuff. And so we have our own things to do. But she doesn't exhaust me because when I'm tired of doing it, I just sit down.
That seems logical.
I
Yeah.
actually was going to ask about that because it seems, and I might be wrong, but it seems like when you have a second marriage or, whatever number it is, it's like you have your own life and then you have to plug it in with the other person's life. And I almost wonder if a lot of times it's like two people having their own lives and kind of together instead of it being so melded like it was when you got married in college. You know what I'm saying? Like you have your own
Yep.
set of friends and she's got her own set of friends and you've got your career and she's got her career and you didn't grow into that together. So it would seem that there's kind of more like separation to your day-to-day lives as well.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, like we're very well established, in our own lives. Although I did uproot myself, and so I've had to start off a bit over again, when I moved here to Arizona. I'm rebuilding like my repertoire of things that I like to do, and finding new people that I'd like to do those things with. And so, and she has her own things, and so I think we uh, live our lives together when we want to, and we do our own things when we want to, and it works out for us.
Sounds very much like interdependence, which I think is a great goal.
Good thing. It's too
Yeah.
hot in Arizona to do anything but like
And Joe, there's no
sit.
ocean there. How?
I know I
How?
miss the ocean. I grew up in the South Pacific, and the North Pacific, right, in Hawaii. So I do miss the ocean quite a bit. I will say, after living in Utah for over 20 years, and then not having to shovel snow over I'm air quoting winter, whatever they call winter down here, and it's actually nice longer down here, than it is up in Utah. So
Are there indoor rugby places?
no, no, no. So they played their rugby down here over the winter, air quoting winter again, and then finish up. I think they just actually finished up a couple of weeks ago,
And then they go
because it's
inside for the
hot,
next 6 months. Nobody
pretty
comes
much.
outside.
I think that Arizona needs to do what they do in Dubai and build, like, they have indoor ski resorts where you can ski down the hill, but it's always inside because it's in the desert out there and it's 120.
Yeah.
So they should give you a year-round rugby place. That's my opinion. Come on, Arizona.
Speaking of, in December, there's like a world sevens rugby sevens tournament, that they go to different places in the world, and Dubai is usually in December, because it's nice.
Are you going?
I wish.
Okay, Melissa, take Joe because you guys need to keep living life. And Joe, don't die. Please don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, we just wish you and Melissa so much like happiness because you both deserve it. But we all know that that actually doesn't matter what you
Well,
deserve.
yeah, I know. I mean, we're making it work. I mean, like we've got a interesting family. Pretty much everyone in the house right now has a different last name. So Melissa didn't change her last name. I was like, why do you need to change?
Okay, wait. I petition that Melissa adds your last name onto her two last names.
And I petitioned Joe to add Melissa's two last names to his last name.
Yeah, and you could just it'll be a palindrome. One goes forward, one goes backward. So yours is going to end with Ponder. But both
Sounds
middle
great.
ones would be Brackman.
Yeah, that sounds great. No, we're becoming uh, I think a functional family. I don't want to say dysfunctional, a non-conventional uh, family. I would say. I was gonna
Functionally dysfunctional or
functionally dysfunctional.
dysfunctionally functional.
Yeah.
That's what we are.
Her ex-husband, still alive, um, who's the father of her younger son. Actually, he had knee surgery at the beginning of April, and we're like, "You don't have anybody. You're gonna stay with us." And so he stayed with us in one of our bedrooms, and I was basically, since I have experience, caretaking, making him breakfast, giving him meds and stuff, and I'm like, it's gonna be fine. Watch, he's gonna be great. Yeah, 2 weeks of that, and then he was like, I think I'm good, and he moved back into his own house, and he's doing really good on his own, and so we got him in, we got him out, got it done.
You healed him.
We healed him. Yep. And he still comes over for family dinner on Sundays. So yeah, Melissa's younger son is their son is Britain. I call him my brother from Britain's mother. And I do
Nice.
introduce him as my brother. When people are like, hey, it's like we're brothers. We don't look anything alike.
Yeah.
So.
That's the best.
I think we have an important question that we need to ask you before you leave us.
You know this, Joe. What's your favorite cheese?
Oh, my favorite cheese is now has probably got to be burrata cheese.
Oh yeah.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty tasty, especially right now as we're entering tomato season.
Yes.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
I know. And Melissa doesn't eat tomatoes. So I'm like, more for me.
What?
I know. Yeah,
I just planted some tomatoes in my backyard in order to let them die because I probably won't succeed in making them grow, but we can hope.
You never
One can
know,
always
though.
hope. I succeeded at times and failed at times.
You can do it.
Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us today. We hope everybody has enjoyed listening to Joe's story. If you would like to keep the podcast going, will you check out our Patreon? It's patreon.com/WWDN.
If you'd like to buy us tacos, go to buymeacoffee.com/widowwedonoww.
And we always like a nice rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Until we get to talk to you again, I'm Anita.
I'm Mel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are just two young widows and one widower with the very nice arms. And we're all just trying to figure out, widow,
We
do.
Now.
Mel.
Yeah.
We have a major announcement to make.
Go for it.
Did you know that right now all plans on Mint Mobile are what?
$15 a month.
Okay, that's truly ridiculous. Do you know how much regular cell phones are?
Yep.
$1 bazillion a month. 15 is less than that.
New customers get 3 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month if you sign up right now. And guess what? I use it. I love it. I've used it all over the country, all over the world, and it's great. And if you're wondering about phones, they have those available as well, or you can just port your own number and your current phone over to Mint Mobile. They make it so easy.
So if people are interested in trying out Mint Mobile, how can they go about doing that?
Go to trymintmobile.com/WWDN. And you know what's interesting? When my dad died, we actually put his phone on a Mint Mobile plan because it kept his number going, but it was $15 a month. So there you go. And there's different storage plans, but you might as well just get the unlimited because it's $15 a month.
Absolutely. All right, go try it today.
That's trymintmobile.com/WWDN.